and cut a thin undercut in here. From a top view, I added one here, here, here. So you can add them wherever you'd like. You can put as many as you want. You can imagine if I did this, how much surface area that would be, right? So we said earlier with the mushroom that you would cut a trough, and that full trough would be because the implants would sit in the center of that trough. And this would be undercut here, 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 and here.
You're talking about using tough link, right?
This would be for anything, but tough link is what you would use. You could use tough link in the case where I just did it, or he specifically asked about the PVS, which is my temporary liner. If it is a permanent liner, use tough link, don't use PVS. It's not approved for that. Okay. So, but in the temporary, you can do this right here. Let's say it's a denture, and your final denture, you're going to actually, if it were tough link, I would make it like this. Okay. So it's undercut. Think of it like the dovetail in like an MOD, you know, you're going to create an undercut in there. So what that does is it gives you a mechanical lock in there, far more than you're going to get if you actually try to go in with an adhesive.
By the way, I've tried an adhesive with tough link and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It does not work.
Okay, so here this is set up. So
this is
Dr.
PVS
Dorcas,
material.
Hold your phone while you feel at that. That's okay. You can try it. Yeah, let's go until it comes out. Let's see how hard it is. Okay. So you can see if you look at this side, there's actually where it went into the undercuts. Now, if you make those in different directions, then they're all going to fight against each other to pull out. So you do one undercut in one direction, one undercut in another direction, one undercut in another, and it will not come out. Okay. So I did these all pretty much in the same direction, so it would come out. But you can see, you can go deeper and longer and add as much retention as you want, and then it will not come out.
Show us the denture again. Just want to show the undercuts in there.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's the undercuts. Thank you. Right.
Maybe you just didn't make them deep enough, or
well, yeah, you can. So if you think of it this way, if you go all the way through, the denture will actually come. It'll come through on this side in it, and then you've got it spread over the other side too. Yeah. So you can go through and make it even more. So you just put in as much as you want, and it'll stay.
And you can use that to anchor your minis?
No, well, you would in the temporary, but this is during the healing phase.
During the healing phase.
You put adhesive there also, right?
No.
Nope.
No, just the undercuts. Yeah, that's what the whole point was. The adhesive isn't very strong, so it's not going to work in some cases, so why use it at all?
So basically, it's better than soft reliner for an immediate.
I never ever use soft reline, because if you've ever used it, you know it becomes hard reline over time.
It does.
And then hard reline will make your minis fail. So you don't want to do that, because then the lateral forces of that will make them fail. So it's always, that's why I use this, because it's flexible, it's soft, you know. So these were great. And if you fill the entire thing, even if it comes loose, they'll just put it back in and put the denture in on top of it. But if you try to do just little pieces, that doesn't work that way. So fill the whole thing, reline the entire thing like a denture reline.
Yeah, I have patients who routinely put it back. They're just used to putting it back.
It works great.
Yeah.
Yep. And they do it. Heavy. I use heavy body pink. Yep. And the reason I mostly use heavy body is because it's always pink. Just about everywhere I order it. So the medium body is usually purple, and then if you cut through it or if it's thin here, it'll show. So the pink never shows.
So is it that this tough link?
Tough link. This is the 50 ml cartridge you get for $169, and that will go a long ways.
I've used this. It's very nice.
Yeah,
Long term. Long term.
Yeah, it's a final permanent. You know. So.
It's been around for like a long time.
I do. I really like
I remember
it.
seeing that, like, it's been at least 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That's that stuff in New York from Denise.
Yep. Antiques.
Nice.
So yeah, make sure you call her during the course, otherwise you won't get your deal. You probably don't have to like order today, but you gotta let her know.
Okay, I'm gonna call her.
Don't anybody else.
So Josh just gave us a little mini lecture on the use of ToughLink for more permanent restoring of, adhesion for mini implants. And also another one where you just use piece liner as a temporary material for, post-surgery rather than co-soft or soft liner, which tends to get brittle over time and can cause your implants to fail.
You guys want to go in? You can go through the CT and take a look at the place.
So we're going to go look at 2 minis that he just placed. I'm going to go grab those and take a look at the CT. Where's the CT at?
It's right in there behind the chair.
From the patient behind the chair.
So here's the CT showing the placement of the last 2 implants. You can see he's going lingual to the mental foramen, mental nerve. And here there. He placed the distal 2 implants today. The very last one over here, the very last one on this side.
Actually, it really is.
Okay.
I mean, as far as the patient
Trying to stay
experience,
lingual
it's like
with his
awful
implant
for 2 minutes.
placement.
And then so, there's no comparison to the kind of other sorts of things that I had to go through. There's so much recovery.
Hi.
I would say, like, I'm a really good high school baseball player, but he's like I've seen him do some crazy, incredible things. So it's kind of funny though when you walk into. I was down at Dr. Masad, Dr. Masad in Oklahoma, also. A lot of folks.
I've heard the name.
Pretty famous guy.
Yeah.
I was in his office. I just wanted to take a little course. I didn't even know who he was. Like, I just thought, this guy, all the patients are coming in.
On the screen.
He is one of the best guys in the world. Dr. Barrett, one of the best guys.
Dr. Breland's gonna move it around while
Patients go, no, we just gonna come here. And like, all these movie cameras are on. All these people from all these schools are watching all over the country.
They're gonna have me just zoom in with this camera if that's okay, doctors.
Go ahead.
And it's really true.
I guess the one you put in the number 27 here, yeah.
Hit that nerve. Yeah. Definitely.
Pressure, I mean, like what?
Taking it off.
Never
Rob.
like attempt to do it without a guide sitting in there,
Yeah,
like,
I'm saying, sure, like,
like,
yeah.
So that's pretty cool to watch.
Mm-hmm.
He was at my office. He put one in a right in that little nasal spine. I call hold your fingernail. And I was like, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen. He's like, oh,
Okay, well, there's the nerve.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
I don't know, am I?
Let's try this in. Let's see if it goes down all the way.
I think,
This is an announcement of the attachments, ball attachments. She's already had the front 4. Are these stern goals?
Yes.
Stern goals. Now she's going to fit it to see if it fits.
It says on that sticker, I just can't read that far.
so sure.
We can figure out how long they are.
Yeah, it's 2.4 by 10.
What does it say? Oh, this is how much we measure up to the top of the
I
column.
feel like
Yeah, so here's the implant start right there.
From the threads.
So that should be 10.
Where is it? Where's it showing?
9.3.
Yeah.
So if I feel onto there, which is where it is, it was in 10. Yeah.
Sometimes it's like hard to find the light.
There. So this is
Mhm.
all-
Yeah, see if she can do it.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
you,
So maybe I would-
yeah, you know where they go, or where they go.
Well, yeah, this is right.
Like right here. At all?
It's like a shifting.
Yeah, you know, he's probably.
Need a little bit more relief. Close your teeth together and see where you're at. Okay. It doesn't look like it's all the way down.
Yeah, it is.
It feels like it's there.
Yeah. Hard to tell when you're numb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's got a little bit off.
Oh, so you're not too.
Close. Just a little more.
Here.
This side,
Okay.
and then when the other one went, it's like they're not level with each other. You know, and maybe that's just an illusion, or maybe it's just going down. You know, but it felt like they weren't going down the same rate.
I can see this side.
Yeah, talk to him about that. You can talk to someone else.
It's a strange, like,
Yeah.
the strange nerve exit.
2016.
There's times we just, and I just do it back.
So that's where I guess we're gonna have to wait for the.
We did keep it out until, yeah.
Right in front of.
I did that.
Look, if you look at it, that's what you like. Usually he just creates the room, just leave it like that, make sure you.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do is though.
Just probably using it like that room to create.
It's got the cortical border because it's coming through, I guess, that's why we can rotate it like.
It's tightening up.
Yeah, now.
I do the black one.
That's where it's going, but yeah, it's coming.
Alright, that's now.
Okay.
Try again. Do you want to get
Yeah, and there's something going on with this.
Cord's kind of caught under that distal part. That's okay.
Yeah.
You just said distal, but I knew what you meant.
Well,
Yeah. I just like to use dental too. Well, I got the apex engaged on the one side, so, you know. You guys like the placement?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the placement's great.
Okay, good.
All right.
you may loosen a little bit.
Okay.
Are you okay?
We just met right here.
Pull up in the middle.
It is.
Fight.
She could even lose that one.
That looks good.
You guys
Do you
good?
want to?
Oh, yeah.
So we got to remove because they only had to here, so. Yeah, we're gonna do another room where we can finish.
Oh,
the-
yeah, because, you know, that would be hard for us to do some of us.
Okay.
And if you send it up
Oh,
against the
let me
guy,
get some
he'll
blood from
actually
the move.
he looks everything over. And then you can just use those metal sleeves, you know, for your fiber hole, your depth.
Excuse me.
And it's gonna be right where.
How's your Zoom going?
Well, I'm running out of battery and so I have to recharge, so it gaps in the presentation. Because I have to charge it like that. I brought an extra battery, but it's not doing the job.
No, I use someone else. I'm just saying, I use a guy for every maxillary case. I have.
Okay. How about for the mandible like that?
Not, for- I wouldn't,
You're
but,
just freehand?
but I get it.
Yeah.
The only thing, because I was thinking about this, you know, you use a guide, it's great. You look at it, you design it on your computer, you're sitting, you got 3-dimensional views, you can put it where you want it, you make it, the guide, boom, goes in, it's a cakewalk, right?
Yeah.
It's like painting by numbers.
Right.
You don't have to think or know much about it. You can almost do a blind.
Excuse us.
Mhm.
We're moving the patient.
But you won't ever develop.
It's all on your card.
Very nice. Thank you.
I think that's.
We're almost there.
You will never develop, and if it's a challenging case, definitely use the guide.
Yeah.
But if you always use a guide, you'll never develop the ability to do what he did. Because if you're always painting by numbers,
Yeah.
then you're gonna always want to paint by numbers. You can't ever figure out how to feel it, get the experience, maybe take a picture. Oh, it's not the way I want it. Well, then you straighten it out. So it's not like the end of the day.
I've had more than one guide not fit and put the implant in the wrong position.
Oh yeah, me too. That's true too.
I mean, I've been placing implants since 2002. I just don't place them as frequently. You know, I started placing those mini implants by 3M back in 2002 or 2001. And but I even because I haven't placed 15,000 of them. If I had that one to do,
You place 15,000 of them?
no, Josh has. I haven't, but I've been placing them for 20 years. But I'm just saying, like for me, that would be more. That's why I don't know a lot of people, but
Open it.
well, I cut flaps on a lot of people, put implants in, and
You could do that
and
too.
they didn't have guides.
On a thin ridge, you could do that too.
They didn't have implant and stuff back then, but they didn't have implant. They didn't have guides.
Right. You could do that, but like in a pinch, if you didn't have a guide and it was super thin and you weren't confident, you could do that. Because I've
Just
placed,
depends on your confidence level.
I've placed about that many.
They haven't had good guides for minis for a while until Josh came along and made them. The mini guides were horrible.
They're horrible.
Well, is his guide better than?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
much
yeah.
better.
Anyone else's?
Absolutely better.
Because I don't understand why it would be better, but I'd like to know. I'd like to learn
Well,
that.
first of all, the guide is not just for the drill; it's for the shaft. That's what he uses. He uses the shaft of the handpiece before the drill bit, and that's what he's using to guide.
The shaft of the handpiece?
The shaft of the drill and the handpiece. Yes. It's a different guide altogether.
I got to learn about that.
Yeah.
What do you do? You're a general dentist?
Yeah.
'Cause you sound like you do a lot of stuff.
I do a lot of stuff. I'm gonna retire completely from dentistry in December.
Are you?
Do mostly online education.
Oh, good for you.
'Cause I like the chemistry.
Yeah, you sound like you do.
And then I'm doing some work with sleep apnea training for dentists and chiropractors to work together. And I think that's a key because at some point in time, we have to find these 54 million people with sleep apnea.
Yeah.
And if we use the centralized system we have now, it ain't gonna happen. We're gonna do something different.
Yeah.
And so this is different, and we've got the people ready to do that. So that's good.
That is good. Right now, I think, it's like so much, everybody's kind of competitive with each other. I don't know why that is in medicine. It's not that way. In dentistry, you get the guy down the street will badmouth you,
Yeah.
every day of the week.
I know.
Chiropractors will badmouth you. Medical doctors will badmouth chiropractors, but you know why that is. But
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying.
But why don't we work together?
Well,
It'd be a better world.
There's a billboard out in California. It's $800 for an implant from everything. $800. Yeah, big old like.
Go ahead. Go ahead. My implant body. It's been $1,750 for 25 years. I haven't changed the fee. And that's just for the implant, and it's a good deal.
What we're doing now is feeding the center coming all the way down.
Yeah.
So you must need a deeper bowl.
Yeah, I'll take
Each one is at a slightly different angle, and it's a little difficult to tell how it's gonna sit down on there. And, yeah.
You were previously on. Yeah.
Where do you go that?
I went southeast Idaho where I grew up. Southern Utah.
Are you Mormon?
So it's a 4.2 millimeter hole, and then bimetal slits fit into that hole, and then from there you either have say, pilot drilled, and you take that piece out, and then from there you have different bushings. Those bushings go on the guide, and it's a 10 to 13 or 15 millimeter bushing based on the length of the implant. So you just match the length of the bushing, and when your hand beats at the top of the guide, it's at the right depth.
See, the main issue for me is not the length of it, because can't you measure that?
No, I'll come back in 2 minutes. I wanted to stay for 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, yep. I might have to grab more than what's here, so it might take me a little bit longer.
Hello.
We need more numbing agent.
Do we need more? We're talking too much. You're working it out.
I've been doing some filming. Is that all right with you?
Pardon me?
I've been doing some videotaping. If
Yeah,
it's okay with you?
that's fine.
Well,
Yeah, that
wanted
was
to
part
make
of my deal.
Okay.
I'll tell you right now, I'm kind of one of those anxiety people.
Oh, yeah.
I'm scared,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Well, I don't, we meet a lot of those in dentistry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's nothing wrong with, saying that.
No, I just want everybody to know that
Sure,
this is,
sure.
this is a patient that you have to get used to
Yeah. Yeah.
dealing with too.
Right. Well,
I've
I've
been
seen,
told I'm not as bad as some people.
Oh,
I'm
I've seen
run on
worse.
edge.
yeah, I've seen worse. Yeah. I've been doing this for 42 years, so I've seen a lot of patients who
You've
are.
seen a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dr. Downs, this is Marcia.
Marcia, nice to
Hi.
meet you. I'm from
Dubuque. I
Dubuque.
was reading your,
Dubuque, Iowa. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's about a 7-hour drive to here.
Okay, well, obviously, you're gonna get some good training today, I'm sure.
Thank you. It's the third time I've been here. Definitely to meet some people here. Hold on a second. Oh, Rob. That was Rob. Rob.
Oh, Rob.
Rob came on board. Hey, Rob, get off the phone. I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Rob.
He's probably going, where is Shauna?
Yeah, it's supposed to be my sidekick.
Mm-hmm. So you still alive? Still alive here? Yeah, still alive. You don't know? It's a rinse.
What?
It's a rinse called Still Alive. You ever heard of that? Mouth rinse? Okay. Just wondering. Well,
Is it like a,
it's a post-operative rinse for
okay,
patients.
like a Paradex type? Like,
It's more of a natural type of rinse.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I just wondered if he was carrying it because I don't have it in my office, but I've heard good things about it and I'd love to see it. Just
Yeah.
kind of get some information on it. That's all right.
And they may, I've just been here 2.5 months.
Okay.
At the front desk and.
My company is OraCare, so it's a different company.
Okay.
But Still Alive, I've heard good things about. So I'm looking to see where we're going next here. I'm kind of narrating about with an audience here.
Hannah's coming back shortly from our show.
What are we doing next here, Rob?
I think we're waiting. We're going to be moving. We're cleaning up the main app with the camera. Then we're going to be moving Marcia in, and they're doing the pickup in another room.
They're doing a pickup for her?
No, this will be extraction and implants.
Yeah, okay.
It's so nice because it's so far away from your face, it doesn't fog up.
I've never worn these, and then we have a room for the COVID, and I got used to wearing them, and I actually like these.
I got
better
one
than
now that
glasses.
sits around on the shoulders and it comes up from here. And it just sits around your neck.
That's interesting.
You just go quick, and then you don't have it off your head and it doesn't fog.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
I feel like I can see, like with glasses on, you're just like limited.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll wear these on my wrist at the same time.
I have to wear glasses anyway, so.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think it's, much better for him than taking away all that.
We're waiting for our next patient here. This one was just finished. We put in 2 Stern Gold implants here and put it on a
That's the challenge. They all.
in
They're
a
story.
lingual position so that it wouldn't impinge upon the nerve. I'll see if I can show you that. Oh,
Sorry, did I take what you needed off?
that last patient, can you show me that one again?
Yeah, I think the guy is doing something on here because it
Oh,
keeps
is it in
moving.
the other room? Is it in the other room?
It should, I'll pull it up in the other room for you.
Okay, that sounds good.
Sorry.
So,
I keep noticing everything that happens on the computer.
Most
Somebody else is doing it.
yeah,
so-
just let's go ahead and bring it back up.
Let's see.
All righty. There it is. So this is the two implants that were put in are here and here. These four were already in sterngold. And you can see the lingual version of the implant placed in the jawbone. Okay. We're in this course today.
I mean, just getting them.
In-office program. Just take a look here.
Like, we're lucky we can do that, but we're not doing anything talentless. You know, we're doing one on a lady, but it's making her fix.
I'm gonna go in here and
But it'll be talentless.
All right, I'm ready.
We're kind of doing that. Like a
step. I'm gonna keep you on, but I'm gonna stop the recording.
And that worked well for me. I like it. I'm comfortable with it. I think it's a great service. They take it out, clean it. But
You're a movie star.
You're being made with the number. So if you want to start the Zoom.
It's on.
Okay, so what we're going to show you is first the upper. So this is a partial denture with no hooks, and it's just 4 mini implants for the partial. So you can tell this is what they look like. Okay, so I never make my partials with hooks. I always use 4 mini implants, and it just snaps into place. So it's really nice when you have these canines. And then on the lower, I think we said we placed these, what, 7 years ago?
Mhm.
The lower anterior ones.
Uh-huh.
And then, Amanda, it looks like this one is not in. So this should stay on. And I placed them so that they should have been flush with the tissue. So I'm going to take this out. And open for me. So these are the two we just did. And can I have an air water tip on that, please?
Yep.
So we've created some space in there. And you can tell that this is actually the pickup that comes out of the impression gun. I'm just going to draft them inside. Oh, these are small. They are. These are like the MH2 housing. Okay. And this is the sterngold easy pickup. So I'm just going to put that in there. There's a little undercut. Fill it like 7/8 full. Okay, and open. Give me the air water. I'm going to dry these off. I want any moisture on these and I'm going to pick them up.
So because they're flush, you don't need shims.
That's correct. And I want to have the slightest little space underneath them, otherwise the acrylic won't fill. Okay, bite together. Does that feel good?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so now we wait 5 minutes and then we're done.
So what do you have your assist? What your assistant able to do? What do you require to do?
She could have done that. It's anything reversible.
Okay.
That's reversible.
Okay.
So she can't touch a patient and do something to that patient, but she was just working on a denture and that's it. So, you know, could she have done that? She could have because it's reversible. But if you go to the lowest common denominator, could she have put in a gallon of that and gotten it locked under the tongue or something? Yeah. She asked me if I wanted her to do it and I said, no, I want to do it. So it depends on the complexity of the procedure and if I think she can make it not reversible. If she can make it not reversible, then I'm doing it. What about denture adjustments? Denture adjustments, they can do when they're certified, she's certified. So every state has different requirements.
So she drilled it, she located where it should be, drilled it out, fit the housing over top of it.
And your assistants can even do the pickup in half.
Mine
Jill
did.
used to do the pickups in your office all the time.
Right.
If
pick up what you, that's not
What I
what you,
just
that's
did.
what you just did.
That's right. She can do the entire thing from you start to finish. Yep. Okay.
That's it All for right. 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Pull out, show a little excess if you need to.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Cool.
Okay. So I'm gonna place 4 mini implants at the same time.
So you're gonna do a graft with mini
I'm
calcium
gonna grab
sulfate?
all the sites with calcium sulfate. I'm gonna place 4 mini implants at the same time.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
And then the one after that is really maxwell, like 6, 8 millimeters long.
Okay. So he's just taken out the lower teeth on this patient, and he's now placing implants in the sockets. You can see the first one has been placed. What are the size of those implants, Doctor? 2.415. So the size of these implants are 2.4 width, 15 long.
We did that in like 15 minutes. All that.
Why did it take so long? This one?
So what is he putting in now? This is calcium sulfate. Okay, he's using an amalgam carrier to place the calcium sulfate.
I don't know where that happened or how that happened, but yeah. I can see this looks good now.
So Mark, going back to your question.
All right, let me see, it just feels a little weird, but it's all right.
Yeah, all right. We can inform them and see if it gets less weird while I find out if they have what they have.
He does a lot of general anesthesia. He's a great surgeon. He did basically surgery with a patient who was on full anesthesia. And it was a lymphoma case and then also the top. Should we give it a top?
So this is where a caseworker could use the true tie, is it, or true lock?
Yeah, you could tough link. You can use that here. Yes, you could.
You could use a tough link here.
You could. Or he may just put on the O-balls and do a draw and pull them right now. He might do that.
You may pick it up.
Pick it up now. Yeah. We'll see what he does.
Because he has enough torque.
I think
Enough to load him?
it sometimes immediate load is possible with this if they're stable enough.
Yeah, that's good. He used 15.
15 length, right?
I never worried about anything inside the bone because I struggled in how to lift the I'm worried about is a huge danger. But you know, as far as my neighborhood inside the canal, I worry about the sublingual and the sublingual and basically itself, you know, I want major branches, not minor branches. You're talking about right there. Because there was one. There's a subdental and sublingual artery coming out. Well, they come in right at the base where the geniotubercle is. There's some variation, but they come in way back here by like where the IA first enters, and then they angle coming up to the center under the tongue into the floor of the mouth. But there's one on each side. So I have personally dissected a lot of mandibles. I've never seen a single canal like there is up here every time. Right. Yeah. So I would not call it an incisive canal. If anything, it's a canal zuck. If there's one on each side, but there's a nerve and a blood vessel on each side. So I've never seen them join. That's what it says.
Well, they have 500.
Where's your upper denture?
Oh my goodness, it was right here the whole time. I knew it was a white tape. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it was too.
I'm like, yeah, there's one of the models sitting there.
Open all of it. Just so I can get her in there. There you go. There you go. Okay. So the bite's good. I'm not impinging on it at all. I'm gonna wait probably 3 more minutes and we'll take a CT. Okay. And those are close in the center. So if I'm concerned, I have no problems with taking that out. I put it basically in some calcium sulfate mixed with some doxycycline, and I'll put them right back in. I might even drill the apex a little bit deeper. But I feel like they would be restorable as they are right now. Those two are pretty close.
Do you want to do an immediate load then with
I could, if I were going to do it, we'll do it with the PBS.
you're gonna do it PBS?
Yeah, I'll do the PBS because it'll be my soft liner because it is an immediate denture as well.
Right.
If it was not an immediate denture, then I would feel totally fine loading.
Where do you get the calcium sulfate from?
The room with the bone.
Because usually, I know my friend, he said that.
I'm sorry.
We actually had on our desk consent when they sign a waiver. You're gonna hate this.
Yeah.
Don't say we didn't tell you.
So that's the advantage of this. The disadvantage that I found in my hands, but that's what I like about him, is that after it heals, is the implant up, down, relative to the ridge.
And then as soon as I open your.
You know, is it sticking up higher than I want it to? But maybe he places a thread so it's on the same level as the buccal cortical level, lowest level. You know, so the threads, when it does heal, with that.
Well, all mini implants are so all essentially tissue level implants.
Right.
You know, and so and they're a low enough profile that you don't have to worry too much about vertical dimension. And if you do, you can get rid of and not use the oval female attachment. You don't have to use those. You can actually take the cut the top off and make small O-rings out of them if you need it shorter. That's what I'm saying.
And you just use the what? The O-ring?
The O-rings.
In the denture.
You can actually, yeah, in the denture. So you can actually cut the O-ball top off and it becomes an O-ring for the female. That's all it is an O-ring with a basket. That's it. You can cut the top off.
That's right.
If it's too tall, just shorten it. And if you really want to get radical, you can just take the rubber ring out and put that in the acrylic.
That's what I thought you were saying.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do the rubber ring only in the acrylic. Pull the rubber ring and make a little basket in the acrylic with your burr, and you're done. Now you've got width. You can gain width and
That doesn't
vertical.
sound like it's easy to do though.
Oh, it's not as hard as you think it is. It's
With a burr, you cut out like an O-ring?
well, once you get the O-ring in there and just go through it with your burr in the middle of it, and just hollow it out so that the ball of the implant has a place to shove into and up and down.
And then put a reline material in there?
The reline material is what you pulled the O-ring with.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, oh, I see. So that's answered my question. So
Yeah.
that would be better because then that O-ring is going to fit in the denture. It's going to make the space
Right.
for itself.
Rather than the brass ring, you just use the acrylic to hold your rubber ring in. Okay, you don't need anything.
Yeah.
And
I've
Yeah.
used that technique several times.
Yeah.
Now, and I love it. But I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, because this is what I'm doing.
okay,
I saw you put that on the forum, and so
Yeah.
I putting that dab of PVS on the top, so you have room.
yeah, just to give you a little cushion.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you get that out, or do you leave it?
It doesn't matter to me, but I generally just tease it out.
Okay, that's
You
what
know.
I've been doing too. But then I thought, well, it's pretty cushy.
Yeah, it's
Maybe I
cushy. I
could
mean, it's
leave it
not
there.
like it's a big issue.
Yeah.
It's not a real big issue. So you can leave it in there as a cushion. Yeah. That saves you a lot of room.
The PVS is a cushion,
Yeah.
but you've made a hole through the denture, right? A complete.
No.
Not through it. You just made an opening.
Look, let's say your implant's sitting there with the elbow. You put the ring on there, just the rubber ring, and then on top a little dab of PVS soft line pressure material.
And
That gives you your space above it.
Yeah, that
Now you
becomes
do
your housing.
that becomes your house. Now you just do your pull, you're done. Or you can just, and then when you're done, you can peel it out or you can leave it in there. Okay, that makes sense?
Well, if you pull it out, because the PVS is what's capturing around the O-ring.
No, the O-ring is. The O-ring.
I don't know
Let me
where the
draw.
PVS is.
Yeah, come on in. Terry's going to draw it out for
I
you.
don't know where that is.
Okay.
You got everything?
I think
I'm
so.
going to go in the other room here. Terry's going to show something that we've been teaching.
What's he drawing?
We're going to show you how to make room for your female attachment. So here's the
elbow.
there's the elbow. Okay.
And your denture, would be.
You need something
Let me grab another.
a little bit more definite there. So she's going to show you how to do the O-ring. Put the O-ring around the
The
ball.
rings around the neck
Right.
of the elbow.
Yeah. The O-ring comes right out of, you just peel it out of your
Acrylic.
O-ball.
Yeah, markers.
The female. The
Oh,
female.
yeah, peel it out. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
just,
I've got a ring.
there's a little O-ring in there. You just peel it out. Or you can buy some
Oh, I got
extras.
tons of them.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Okay,
Just
the
put it
O-ring.
around there.
Right.
Put the O-ring around there and put a little block of PVS on the top. Now you have your space for your O-ball. Now you do your pickup and your O-ring is in the acrylic.
Oh, so show me there where the PVS is.
She's going to do that. There's your tooth.
Okay, I'm a terrible tooth.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so, and then your denture would normally go like this. And you've relieved the denture over the elbow. Okay?
Yeah.
So you now have this opening in the denture. Then you put on your
O-ring.
O-ring, which you've peeled out of the female. Okay.
and then you dab, my O-ball is way big, but then you put on a dab of PBS.
Just a little bit
Yeah.
over the elbow.
So that you're gonna end up with a little bit of space at the top of all the acrylic you're gonna reline this with.
And then I see, and then the acrylic.
Will come in.
And it'll grab that O-ring.
Yeah.
Just like it would the brass.
How
brass.
do you get just a very gentle covering? I see what I'm tracking with you. So now you got an old ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you just get a very gentle covering of the PVS on?
You don't have to get it. It doesn't. It can
What
be.
I do is I squirt it on a pad, I put my plastic instrument in it, and then I just do a little swirl over the top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let it harden.
I see. So that acrylic will grab the O-ring
And the PVS.
and the
It all
PVS.
comes out.
And like you say, if the PVS comes up loose, no problem. If
Right.
it doesn't, or if you made like a little retention in the denture itself,
Mhm.
the PVS would stay in there.
Right. Now you don't have to do that. I mean, as Terry just showed you, but I think that's a good way to do it because let's say you pulled that O-ring with the acrylic and you had no PVS on here. Well, usually your O-ring is up about here to the it's about there.
But you could just sort of lock.
We don't want to lock it. We want to make sure that you don't lock it. So you either put wax up. You can put wax up there if you want to. You can put wax.
I find wax doesn't stick as well.
That's what I was going to say. Doesn't stick.
PVS does it though.
Yeah, PBS works really well.
And now you don't have to worry about it locking. And And then once you get it out, if it's a little bit like uneven, you can go in there and drill it a little bit, give it a little bit more depth if you want to. But now you've saved all of this cap width and height has gotten, if you got a tight space, it's gone. And it's not going to show through because you got more acrylic here.
Or like in my case, they didn't have any, I needed the retainer or the housing and they didn't have it in stock.
Right.
So I was like, what am I gonna do? And then I saw his post on the forum. I was like,
Oh, you have a post on there?
Oh yeah.
Post on there?
Yeah, it's on there.
On where?
oh.
Broward,
No.
I think it's the Broward
Mini
trained.
Implant Masters.
Well, I
Mini
put it,
Implant Masters.
it might be there, and it's also on Broward trained
That's right.
implant masters.
I have them all. They all go on mine.
Broward trained implant masters.
I just have implant masters.
Mini implant. Broward trained mini implant masters is another Facebook site.
Oh, it's a different one from
Yeah.
mini
Yeah.
dental
Yes, it
implant
is.
masters.
Yeah,
Broward trained mini dental implant masters.
something like that. I can't remember the name of it for sure.
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah,
Richard?
and then the pictures are all there. Okay. There.
He actually
But I gotta
catch-
get the right name of those sites.
Well, bring up Facebook and we'll see if we can find it. Do a search. Broward.
Broward. Dr.
Broward, yeah, Broward.
Broward trained.
Broward.
Now
Trained.
he's putting in. What is he putting in now?
That calcium.
More calcium sulfate.
Looks like. Broward trained.
I haven't met him.
I'm reading the mandibular incisor canal. It's just a branch.
Not everybody can get on that site because unless you're Broward trained, you're not going to get there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, well, you're fine. You'll be there.
Okay.
I
Broward.
wonder if Bruce knows about it.
What's that?
I wonder if Bruce knows about it. Broward trained.
Mini implant masters.
Mini implant masters?
Yeah, I think it's saying. Let me see if I can see it for you. Broward.
Trained. There it is.
I think it's just called that.
Okay. There. Broward trained master alumni.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Oh, you see?
Broward trained master alumni.
Oh, Richard, you're the man. Broward trained.
And you'll go down the post and you'll see this technique on a patient that I showed. Okay.
Trained. Master.
Mhm.
See,
You see your picture. See the picture here. We're going to be doing a group picture like that.
okay. So you're, I saw in your credentials, you're a fellow of GMDIA, right? Fellow.
No, I'm a diplomat.
A diplomat.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Diplomat. D.
Yeah, they're starting to issue credentials for this organization now.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to be a fellow in broad
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah, that's exactly
So
right.
I'm gonna get a fellow and then I'll
Yeah.
do the masters and
Sure.
then be a diplomat.
Did you find it? I did not find it.
Broward trained
Yeah.
Oh.
master alumni.
Yeah, trained master alumni.
You have to put the whole thing.
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
Let's see.
You didn't go alumni. Oh, there you go.
Mini dental implant masters.
No,
Wait a minute, did you print out alumni?
I'll tell you what. I'll invite you. How's that sound?
Okay.
Oh, you got
Sound good.
alumni.
Broward
Trained
trained. Let's see.
master.
I'll do it here for you.
Now, is that a Facebook? That's a Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and this is Facebook.
So I'm going to invite
Jennifer.
Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce. Yeah.
Bruce, and then you can.
Piggyback
Well, you're
off of
Bruce.
him.
It looks like Bruce is already in there.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he's already in there.
Could you put me on there? Can you invite me or do I automatically
I know.
get
I'm
invited?
not. You're not a Facebook friend, so I can't invite you.
Oh,
Okay.
I can be.
That's fine. I'm all right with that. I don't see. So let me just see who's members here. Members. Josh Brower, Bruce
He
Lamar.
is. Okay, good.
He's in
That's
there.
all that matters.
He's in
Means
there.
he's in. Okay.
Okay, he's in there.
He's in.
Okay. So you just notice me on Facebook, and I'll take care of you. Okay.
So I don't even know how to use Facebook, I'll be honest with you.
Well,
I got an account, but
yeah, you're gonna need to like request me as a friend, and then you go from there.
okay, face, I'm putting that on.
There's a
there.
lot of stuff going on Facebook anymore, so it's probably a good thing. We'll go out there and get some more recording of Josh.
There's lots of other branches that are gonna cross innervate that area. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in agreement.
Yeah, but I mean, you can have 3 IAs. I can show you 3 mental canals, you know, on CTs here. So there's lots of cross innervation. So discussing whether hitting one spot is going to cause a problem, it isn't. So what you want to do is use infiltration anesthesia and then drill slowly if you think you're near the nerve and listen to your patient, because I guarantee they will go the physician that you guys saw me place that 6x6 where I took it out, he was like, like that. Like I was like, okay, it looks like I was 1.4 millimeters away.
Yeah.
He was telling me I was on the nerve, and he's like, no more. You know, and all I was doing was just going 60 RPM with that drill, slowly getting close. So as far as discussing the anatomy, what's important is don't hit big vessels, don't hit big nerves, and if you know you're going to be near one, drill slowly and carefully. That's like a take-home concept. Other than that, variations of anatomy are all over, like multiple IAs. The IA, you can look up bifid IA, and I got 3 people here in the practice that have 2 IAs.
Yeah. And
actually, one runs on the lingual border, one runs the normal course. What does it innervate? I don't know. I don't know if it's redundant, or I don't know if it actually, if they separate. I was like, well, what is there 2 anterior loops? It doesn't look like it. And I've got x-rays where there's 3 mental foramens, but is it 3 branches of the same one? I don't know. All you really need to know, because the anatomy is different from patient to patient, is don't hit big vessels and big nerves. And if you think you're going to be close looking at the x-ray, then just drill slowly and carefully. I think that's the big take home. It's, as far as, you know, can I look it up in a Netters or on the Google or something? I don't think it really matters. I think you just need to know there's something there and don't hit it. You know, that's my take home for it. Do we have a CT yet? Okay.
So with the immediate placement, when you were doing that, you were basically, you know, you usually put your finger down on the back of it, but it's the lingual that you're worried about. I mean, if you
Exactly.
no big deal, whatever. So you're just don't go lingual, don't go lingual. That's why you're always teaching, put your finger down on the lingual border, get your positioning right, don't come out. That's your
Well, ideally, mini implants are safer than conventional implants because you're not drilling full depth. But in bone like that, sometimes you do. And have I perforated with a burr? I have. Have I been proud of it? No, I've been very sad. I have placed 6 implants and gone back and found 2 of them were out the lingual plate. And would they harm anything? Probably not, but I don't move them anyway. So.
Josh, I got a question for you. So when this heals, how do you know that the implant is, that the soft tissue is going to heal so that it doesn't either cover the implant or that the implant threads or implant is going to be too high?
So if you put the last thread of the implant at the top of the crest of bone, that's ideal. And then,
excuse me, crest of the bone. So now we have septal bone. So you're talking about the buccal, like the depth of the buccal cortical
the crest
plate?
of the bone will be where the other bone should finish when you graft. So we're counting on no bone loss because there was no flap. Right? We didn't flap.
Right, but we have a shape here, like a dipped shape.
No.
We don't have crestal bone going higher? We always do.
The interseptal bone?
Interceptal.
This is a perio case.
That's what I meant.
It's a perio case. So they're all pretty much flat. There's really nothing.
Okay, in a case where you do have, I'm sorry, crestal bone, I said, I meant interseptal. So if you have
the interseptal
interseptal,
is higher and you graft up to that height, you should be able to tent that bone. And it should stay at the crestal height.
if you graft.
Should. Yeah. But if you don't graft, then it will reduce down to the bottom height of the bone, probably on the buccal or lingual,
Right.
which is usually lower. Usually the buccal is where it'll
Right.
finish. The short answer I think that you were getting at is, what would I do if it healed in a way that I did not expect? Okay.
Yep.
So I have some threads exposed or I have too much tissue. So the good question is, with the tissue that is mucosa, so there's no keratinized tissue, that will always grow over your implants, always. And you can tell because the patient isn't wearing their denture except for when they leave the house. So you'll see it, you can push on it, it's red. When you push on it, it turns white. That's mucosa, that's not keratinized tissue. In those cases, you just have to tell them because they'll come in pain all the time. My denture hurts every time I put it in, my denture hurts every time. And they have to wear their denture more often, or they need a free gingival graft. So my local periodontist loves me. I send them over, they get a free gingival graft. It no longer hurts because the keratinized tissue will not grow up and over the implants. So
They get it free because why? You pay for
free
it?
gingival graft.
Not
That's a
free,
misnomer.
not free.
Oh, free gin.
Yeah, it's what it's
It's a
called.
release.
Not free.
It's not a pedicle graft.
Exactly.
I
So
mean,
it's coming off their palate.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's free from their palate. Exactly as Mark said.
This may be an overly simple question, but I've had a patient recently that came back. And it had been quite a while. I don't know if I put the implants in or somebody else put the implants in, they're mini implants, and the threads were exposed.
Mhm.
And I just drove them deeper.
So if someone is immunocompromised, that frequently happens, and you can drive them deeper because the bone quality will be poor. This patient had really hard, dense bone quality. So I don't, when I tried to back out that first one, it wasn't coming out. So I just said, okay, I'm not going to move it unless the CT tells me I should move it. Okay. So, and the two middle ones, because those incisors were very close, they're pretty tight. They're not touching, but they're pretty tight. So it's going to be like the patient Romy here that was, I think she said we were 7 or 8 years out. They're pretty tight, you know. When you stack 4 incisors, they get pretty close. So when I restore that case, I will be shaving off some of the metal on both sides of those housings there. I think the 2 outside ones were better. So you know how you look at restoratively, and some people have 4 lower incisors and they're all the same. Well, those are the ones that stack tighter. When you have the 2 laterals that are wider like that, then these 2 had more space than these 2 here. So could I have moved it? Yes, but it would have made it a lot more difficult for me to drill through the side walls of the cortical plate, and I would not have gained very much. So I just leave it right where it was because the biology says this space is already here and fine.
You should adjust the housing much easier.
I'll adjust the housings. Yeah. So it does decrease the AP spread. Somebody said that earlier. Like, why would you put them so close? Ideally, I'd put them farther apart. But it does allow me to put more implants in, and her bone quality was very good. So they could have used conventionals, but she has opposing dentures, so I didn't use conventionals. She's very cost conscious, so the mini implants were a good way to go. Would I have been wrong to place 2 here and 2 farther back? No, might have even been better. I don't know. It could have been better. I think, Ray, you asked me if I went back to the molars, would I do 2 right in the center and 2 all the way back there? Yeah. You know, I think just because she probably would chew back there because she could bite harder, I think that I'd have a higher failure rate because I'm in like that D3, you know, D2 bone minimum back there. And there's always a greater chance of hitting a nerve there. So these were pretty stout implants. 2.4 by 15 is a pretty big implant. So I feel pretty confident that they're not going to break.
What company was it?
Those are Stringle. 2.4 by 15. So I traditionally, if it's immediate extraction, I go with the 15. Normal, if it's healed, I go with the 13. I got a big white bulletin board downstairs in that lunchroom. You guys can pull it out. It's behind that little stainless steel card at the bottom of the stairs, and it's got kind of my algorithm for how I pick and choose everything, including conventional implants and what they're called and the codes for like the billing and insurance. On a different day, I might have placed 2 here and 2 maybe in the first premolar area, but I probably wouldn't go back farther than that on a lower 4. But would you, you know, the original Syndax protocol is 4 between the mental foramens. That's clearly between the mental foramens, but it could have been farther distal for sure. And I don't think that would have been wrong of me to do that. I just did it this way.
How do you check for and what do you do for posterior ridge resorption in these overdenture cases? We have a tissue supported prosthesis, but we have a posterior ridge that can resorb, even though you've got great implants in the front. You follow up yearly?
Oh, okay. This is my own opinion based on experience. Do not quote me, do not Google it, because I didn't put it on Google. I don't see a lot of ridge resorption in the posterior mandible. I usually see a ton in the anterior mandible. It seems like the posterior mandible is already resorbed by that time. And it just doesn't resorb a lot more, in my opinion. I don't know. There's probably someone who would tell me I'm wrong, but I do see a lot of resorption in the anterior mandible. 4 or 5 millimeters. Hers, if you look at that CT for Romy, that was, I think those implants are 5 millimeters out of the bone, and they weren't that way when I placed them 8 years ago. They still look pretty good in the tissue, but she's an advanced perio case. But I honestly don't see a lot in the posterior, but I also don't place them that far back unless I'm doing like roundhouses, and then they're always splinted.
Well, I mean, where there are no implants. So like I see, even take the implants out of it, I see somebody that's got canine to canine with a traditional partial over 5 or 10 years, they'll have a millimeter or so resorption in the back so that the partial does a little bit of rocking. And so the same thing I think happens when you have implants in the front. You just get over 5 years, you'll start to see just a little bit more rocking on the denture. And then I'm wondering if you do like a reline.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. The mini implants should be a tissue supported prosthetic. So we follow them up so I have a lifetime warranty if they come in every 3 months. We all know they don't do that after a while. But what I personally do is it should never rock like that unless it's natural teeth here and nothing in the back, where the partial is actually going lower on tissue, because if you have implants back there, it should stop that from happening. So like Romy had the upper in the back, and it's a very positive stop. There's no rock to that.
Right.
So if you have implants back here, even if it's 5 years and they've worn out the O-rings, it should be metal on metal, and it should stop it so it's not hitting the tissue. So it should not, in my mind, when I'm visualizing it, rock.
Right.
But how would I fix it if it did? Or let's say that it was metal on metal, then I would just do a hard reline of the soft tissue in the posterior and change the O-ring. They do make some O-rings pre-op. PREAT is a company that sells a lot of dental implant parts, and they make an O-ring that does not have a top on it. And I know Rick has taken some and just drilled the hole through. So if you want to, so you don't go metal on metal, you can actually drill the top of the housing out, and then the implant will just sit and go through. When you go metal on metal is when you usually get long-term failure. So pre-op makes them, they're brass, and they're kind of, they're knurled on the outside, and they are for minis, and they work good. But you can just grind off the top. If you guys want, we can take a housing and I'll just grind it off so you can see what it looks like.
You can make a housing into an O-ring.
Yep.
You can make it into an
that
O-ring.
works. That works good for people that if it would, hit metal to metal, that stops that from happening. And then you just drill through into the denture as well.
So I have a question. In my area, I have a lot of young people who have suddenly lost all their teeth due to opioid type problems. And they have huge ridges and their dentures are extremely thin. But they're wanting me to secure them with mini implants because they hate them. They're young. They want their implants. They want their dentures to stay in better. But I have no room for the housings. There's no room for anything to stay on there.
Because the ridge is tall?
Yeah, it's really tall. So I hate to send
Have you
them
measured the 15 millimeters of prosthetic height?
I have. And I've even tried to open them up by doing a reline, and try and open the video a little bit more just so I have enough room to put in housings. And they're not tolerating it. At least 2 of my ladies are not. They're having facial pain and so on. So I told
they're
them.
having facial pain because they got to stretch their masseter because they don't like to stretch their masseter.
Okay.
But yeah, if you should take 2 fingers on their side and go in between their incisors with the dentures in. If you can't do that, then you need to open them up more.
Okay.
Yeah. You can always look at the corners of the mouth too. They'll get angular cheilitis if they're overclosed.
When I started in dentistry, we had to flatten ridges all the time. You flat the tissue, reduce the vertical height, and then you'd have a flat platform for drilling your core vent holes. And you can gain some vertical that way too.
Josh, you talked about the length of the implant. Just talked about 13 millimeters and 15 millimeters and when you would use each of those lengths. Would you ever use 18s in the middle?
Yeah, the canines in particular are longer, so I would always have to use the 18s there. Or if I have a long, skinny teardrop mandible, I use 18s there a lot.
Just to get more BIC.
So that I actually get into solid bone. I like to be 5 millimeters apical to the extraction site in solid bone. So if you have a 13 millimeter long root, then I need an 18 millimeter long implant.
Another thing I was gonna say is sometimes that AP rock of the denture is not because of resorption of the back, but because of resorption.
Yeah, you know, I don't.
So the
Maybe I'm
reline is
just
the,
not smart enough, but I'm missing it. I'm, you know, unfortunately, I have had associates that usually do the follow-up exams, and maybe I'm missing it. You know, maybe they're fixing it for me, and I think I'm better than I am. And we'll verify.
if you have resorption in either place, anterior or posterior, it'll rock. So it could be.
Well, ideally though, it'll at least wear the same, right? So you'd be metal on metal in the buckle, in the anterior and the posterior, and it should still be there, but I don't know.
We should question though if they don't have posterior implants.
My
and you
question was
just have
if
the
that, like the
four,
lady
right?
this morning.
And then you would just do a reline, right, to bring that back up, just like on a normal partial. That was your question,
Just like a
right?
normal partial, yeah.
No,
So you
with
could
no
reline
implants.
the posterior. I thought you meant if there was posterior implants, so no posterior implants?
Right, no posterior.
Yeah, just reline the back.
And but you tell the patient like they need to come every 3 months to check for that.
No, they come
so-
every 3 months so you can look at your implants
Clean them.
and make sure they're
And
clean.
when she came here today, they were covered in calculus.
Yeah.
So we actually had to clean them so you could see them. So it's more about my mentor, you know, I haven't seen him in a year, but he still works here.
Who is he?
His name is Jack Whiteman. And he was the guy that turned me on to mini implants. He got like a VHS tape. And he's like, hey, I know you. That's what they advertised him on way back, you know? And he called me up. He's like, I got this video from this guy in Oklahoma. You should go and do this. It seems like something you'd be interested in. But he was way ahead of his time. He was like one of the first fee-for-service guys. He was big into advertising his services, so all the other dentists hated him. And he did sleep apnea, and he did dentures, and his dentures were $4,000 an arch. He had unlimited visits, and he said the same thing all the time. They're paying just to have me come and counsel them because they want something to do. They don't actually have anything wrong with their dentures. And he gave them a lifetime warranty. And his lifetime warranty was if you're not happy after a year, he'll give you $1,000 back and you have to find a different dentist. But he was charging $8,000 for a set of dentures, and people paid it all the time because he was the denture guy. Because he would just sit and talk with them. He just said, I let them come in until they burn themselves out. They just don't want to come and see me anymore. And but he did sleep apnea. He had a full cash fee for service practice, you know, 30 years ago, long before you saw people, you know, talking about it now. And he did extremely well with it. So, yeah, very smart marketer. Like I said, he knew right away that I'd be interested in mini implants, so he was the one that got me into them. So, and he, you know, he'd have people that he couldn't make happy with dentures. I said, yeah, no, use me as an excuse. I don't care. Well, I told you to go see that guy.
Did you say he works with you?
So he retired like 10 years ago, but he kept his license and he asked if he could have a job. And I'm like, yeah, work whenever you want. So he will randomly show up here and I just let him do exams. You know, he's my mentor. He gets whatever he wants. So yeah, he's a funny guy. So yeah, he just wants to, he's still got to practice and work. And so yeah, I think he's 84.
That's my dad. He's 84 and just shows up at different,
Yeah.
he helps people out, like if they need to be gone for a little while, he'll do exams for his hygienist, you know, so.
Josh, how have you, in the past as a business model, like, have you always tried to keep an associate? Is that your business model, like one implant doc, one associate doing everything else, or?
So that it's interesting. You know, you kind of got to gravitate to whatever you want. But you guys familiar with the hero practice model? Kind of, you probably know it. You probably know it, but don't really know what it's called. So, like a hero practice model, Kevin's got it. So,
Are you feeling dizzy or
you got a
anything?
bunch of hygienists. You do a whole bunch of exams and you do hygiene checks all day. And so you really don't have time to do much other than hygiene checks because you got so many. How many a day do you have? You have 2 or 3 running every day.
2 or 3 every day, yeah.
Yeah, so every hour you have 2 or 3 hygiene checks. So how much work can he do at the same time?
Not much.
Not much. So what happens is you don't get to do a lot of proactive or preventive things. So you don't. I mean, I had that model, and after a decade of it, I said I was going to kill myself over it because I'm like, I cannot do 40 exams a day. and do a good job and actually see any other patients, right? And so in those models, you make all your money in your hygiene department, and there's nothing wrong with it. But you can't do a lot. You just don't have the time. You can't take a 2-hour appointment where you can't leave the chair because you just missed 12 exams. You know what I mean? So anyway, the hero means that you don't proactively treat stuff before it's a problem. So most of your patients come in with the problem, and then you're their hero because you didn't tell them they had a cavity or a crack in their tooth, because frankly they weren't going to fix it. But as soon as it broke, they came in, and now you're fixing it, and you get them out of pain. So now you're their hero. So they never have anything wrong, and then when you fix it, you're fixing it, and they're out of pain. So I did that for 10 years, and I made great money, and it was not stress free, but it was less stressful because I was doing less stuff myself. But after a decade of it, I measured that decade, I had over 40,000 patient visits in that 10-year period. And I was just like, I just thought, very unhappy when I was every day. So I thought, what in my practice?
Okay, I put it in, but you can.
And they were my patients,
Because you kind of know where it goes.
I was making their lives better. I was giving them back something they missed.
The Lord's looking good.
Or improving something they wanted, so they were happy to see me, and I got to know their name. How many of your patients do you actually know their names when you see them in a day? Now, why do you think I have these boards that I have to write the name up? Because I cannot remember 40 people a day, until I've seen them a bunch, right? So my ortho patients, I see multiple times, so I get to know them as a human being. I might even know if they have family, And my implant patients, I know because I'm giving them something back. It's usually pretty heartfelt how they feel if you change their lives. And I just said, okay, I'm either going to quit dentistry or I'm going to change my practice model. And so I called a bunch of local dentists and asked, do you guys want to form a group? All of them were adamant, no, they don't want anything to do with you. It was like they all treated me as competition. And so I said, well, screw it, I'll form my own group. So I started buying practices. And I found people that were retiring or just practices for sale. And I built this one from scratch. I bought some others, so I had 3. And that was as much as I could do. So in those offices, there was an associate, and basically they were doing whatever they wanted. I just said, look, I want to do the ortho and the implants. And if they didn't do molar endo or something, or wisdom teeth, then I did that too. So you can kind of pick what you want. And then I just came in, usually 1 or 2 days a week in each of those practices and did those procedures. And I was happier doing that because I was seeing fewer patients. And so my hygiene department doesn't make a lot of money. It's probably $600 to $1,200 a day. The hero practices, they should be $2,000 plus, a day per hygienist for the normal. $2,500 is like an Aspen is at $3,500 a day for hygiene. That's what they schedule
For one hygienist?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's 'cause everybody's perio.
well, everybody's perio, everybody's getting the veloscope, everybody's getting every single thing you can imagine. And so it varies. There's lots of models that you can go for. But for me, it was about it was a soul killer to do 40 exams in a day. And I had a breaking point. So I told the staff 28 people a day I would take on the schedule that I would personally have to see. And I didn't want to see more. And they were pussies. And people would call up, oh, I can't get in. I'm going to switch dentists. So they put them on. They kept eking it back up towards that number 40. And one day I had 40 again, about 6 months after I told them not to do that. And I blew up and I yelled and screamed at all of them. And I'm like, how good an exam do you think I can do? Would you want me to do this 2-minute exam on your family? I'm missing things. I know I'm missing things, and I don't want to do this anymore. And at that point, I think they understood. And the practice model changed with or without them, if you know what I mean. And so I just, it's a good model. It makes great money. That's what all your DSOs are. They're all hygiene-based practices. When they buy a practice, they want to have at least 5 chairs so they can run at least 3 hygienists. That's the practice model. Because they don't care who the dentist is. They just need the hygienist. So anyway, I don't know if that answers the question, but you need another dentist or 2. Paul Singh is a friend of mine in Chicago, and him and his partners have 9. And so he does implants and ortho like me. And I think some of his other partners do oral surgery, so they do like thirds. And they vary a little bit who does what, So for me, as a practice owner that wanted to make money, I did anything so it didn't get referred out. So, but you can pick and choose if you don't want to do it that way.
So like, how long have you been here and how many associates have you had?
I've always had one here at a time, and I started this from scratch. Then you could look it up. It's somewhere between 8 and 10 years ago. Yeah. But this is my hometown, and I hadn't been here. So by coming back to my hometown, all the people I knew growing up were like, "Oh, you're here. Can I come see you?" So I had an advantage over someone trying to start from scratch somewhere else. And people drive a long ways to see me. So I sold one office, closed another office. So I just had this one, and all those people just decided to drive here. So right now I have 151 people that are driving like from Iowa to here. And then if I count the other states, probably 400 total. So they come a long ways for whatever.
Did you find the other practices to be just too much of a hassle, or why did you give those up?
I didn't need any more money. I just had enough money that I could do whatever I wanted the rest of my life. And that's kind of why I did more teaching. I was never had any intention of teaching. And you guys probably know Glenn Vo from Nifty Thrifty. Him and 4 other guys talked me into teaching them, letting them come to my office. I was posting cases because Dental Town was so abusive to people who want to learn mini implants that I just said, screw it. I did 2 interviews with Howard, and I finally said, all right, you're not going to make it safe or, get an admin who will stop all these really abusive comments, then I got to go elsewhere. So I started the Facebook. I was an early adopter for Facebook. So I started one of the first groups and basically started the mini implant board and just tried to make it something good for everybody where you could just safely post. That's all it was. So I post my cases. Anybody could post their stuff. And then it was like 5 guys that got together and kind of beat me down over about a year and a half, and said, well, will you at least come watch us? Because they're like, you need to teach a course. I'm like, I don't want to teach a course. I'm busy. I'm making, And so they came, and Glenn saw how frugal I was and how I ran everything, and asked if he could kind of copy the ideas. This was about an $80,000 build out for this office. So all the countertops are poured concrete, those are toolboxes from Sam's Club. These are IKEA cabinets. All the chairs are used, everything was just done, so it's very functional and very usable, but not at a high cost. And so that was the start of Nifty Thrifty, on Facebook, which actually had a different name. He asked me about it, and I was like, yeah, I'll help you, And now I think there's like 25,000 people on that board all the time. And anyway, so that kind of was the whole teaching start, which is like 5 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. And, I taught with my friends doing other stuff for other things, but I hadn't really done much around the US. And I enjoy the interaction. I know I'm not going to do this forever, and I want to pass on what I can while I'm doing it, So I have a daughter that's in dental school. It's in her first year now.
Oh, cool. Congratulations.
But she's not talking to me because I divorced her mother, but thank you. Maybe someday. and
Maybe when those student loans
as you
become due.
probably have all figured out, she thinks I'm an idiot. So, someday after she's done with school, she may figure out that I may have known something. But as of right now, I'm an idiot. She thinks I'm terrible with my patients as well. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm trying to pass it on while I can. I'm almost 25 years. Rick, how long have you done it?
42 and a half.
Yeah. So Rick's got more stamina than I do. And
I don't know.
I just thought, I want to keep doing this forever, a couple of days a week, but I don't want to do it 4 or 5 days a week.
Well, I'm only doing 2 days.
Yeah. And I think if I could, I have too many friends that went to nothing. And, one of my good friends is a pediatrician. He's got arthritis now. And I'm like, you didn't have it a year ago when you retired. Yeah. I think just, you start doing less and it's not good for your health.
That's what I think too.
Yeah. So I think being there, even 3 hours a day, is probably a good idea. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if that answered the question, but that's the long answer.
Do you have an associate right now?
I don't.
So are you doing everything yourself?
Yes.
Yep, right now. But it's actually been kind of nice because with COVID, we're at the second wave of COVID, so all these patients have been canceling because they got COVID, whatever. So actually, me doing it, it makes one really busy schedule for me, or it would be 2 light schedules for docs. So at the moment, I'm killing it, and I'm killing myself doing it. So, but I'm still only allowing 1 hygienist, and I'm not a full-time schedule. I'm keeping it like 3 days a week, and it's like 1 patient an hour. So,
What days a week do you put in?
well, it depends on which job, because I've got the lab, so I'm down there a lot
Just
of
dental.
minutes. Well, if you count the lab as dental, then it could be.
No, just dentistry.
Well, you have to look at 4 for sure. Sometimes I think it's 4. I don't know. It's been crazy the last few weeks, so I think 4. But I feel like it might be 5 if I'm traveling the week before or something.
Yeah.
So, but I think right now it's just 4. I think we usually do Fridays.
How many times a year do you travel? Or say,
So Mark, you might want to hear this part because this is a good thing. So I could have traveled virtually every weekend. Do you guys know Glenn Campbell? Can't remember his. Well, I have a good friend in California, and we had this really good talk after the CDA like this one time. We were walking back, and he does a lot of lecturing for Serona and everybody else, and he was telling me that he had gotten divorced, and I said, why do you think he got divorced? Because he seemed sad about it. And he said, well, you have a tribe. And he said, it's where you spend your time with is your tribe. And he said, I did so much teaching. I was on the road all the time. I really just started to fade away. And these were the people I was used to seeing, used to talking to, and kind of happy to, I got excited about those visits, and I got less excited about the time I was spending at home. And he said, over time, my relationship just didn't become very important. And he said, I did not put in the time that I should have to keep that relationship being important. I put more time in on the road. And he said, where you spend your time is where you show what's important to you. And he goes, I showed that it was important to me to be on the road because I enjoyed people saying nice things to me every weekend, and telling me how awesome I was. And so it was a very eye-opening conversation for me to think about because I had been married like 20 years at that time. And, I thought, okay, well, I was just kind of ramping up. Maybe I'm going to do this like every weekend. So I tried to do it 22 weekends a year. I was willing to be away. So it's like twice a month. So I said I wanted to be home twice a month. And then I didn't mind if it was more than that, but I wanted to not be gone 2 weekends a month because, 4 kids, I was very active with them. And so I felt that was a pretty good blend. And so I passed on a lot of opportunities, but I think it was a wise decision based on his conversation with me. So I think that it's easy to get wrapped up into, the kudos and the, rah-rahs. You need something else? Yeah, just bring it back and have a good one. You got it. It's the upper jaw. Trevor, you do a 6 to 11. Yes, sir. And anyway, yeah, it can be very addictive. So I went back to my core concept of just helping people. So I post on Facebook. It doesn't cost anything to be in there. You can learn whatever you want. Some people take a little bit of advantage and try and send me like 10 texts a day asking for side. And I'm like, why don't you just post it on the board and let everybody have a shot at answering it, Because even if they send it to me, it still takes me a minute or 2 to copy and paste it on the board. And I get it. Some people want to be anonymous. They're just kind of shy. So I do try to do that. But when they'll send me multiple day after day, then I got to kind of just say, well, there's people that are paying me to have access to me, so I can't answer your questions. So post it on the board or you're not going to get an answer. And so that's probably the only thing that's a little tough because I don't like telling people I won't help them. But I have found there's a group of people that if you answer once, they just keep going and going and going, and they could ask on the board, and they just either, I think they don't want people to know that they don't have the knowledge they're asking about. That's kind of where I have to draw the line, and I like the one-on-one mentoring the most because it can be on any topic for any reason. That I think is great because, as we all know, there's far more to running a practice than knowing the depth of the nerves and the blood vessels. So you got to know where you can buy your compressor and how to fix it, and what should be on my consent form, and should I fire this person if they did this, and when's the right time for this, and when's not the right time. I've been pounding down on Jen and Bruce about getting more insurance, even though it's crappy insurance. And my answer to crappy insurance is, who cares? It puts you on the list, and you can do procedures that are not covered by their insurance. Veneers, whitening, it's an easy way to fill a hygiene schedule, and it doesn't mean you have to do those things. So Bruce is the master of the BioClear Crown, and I'm like, it's not covered by insurance, so it's like a win-win, You get to do what you like to do, and it doesn't matter what kind of insurance that. So as long as you don't lose money in the hygiene department, so sometimes you might have to double book them twice an hour, But other than that, it's really, I do 6% of my procedures are insurance covered because insurance is $1,000. So I just bill their insurance for like the extractions, and then I don't bill for the rest. I do a package deal with your 999 codes, and then their insurance doesn't come into play at all. So that's how I do a lot of it.
Oh, I got you. I've heard this speech.
Amanda, do we have the CT
I've heard this
yet?
speech.
Yeah, but I would like my.
I thought that was the way you could do it in the old days, is once you read out insurance, you do whatever, but I thought now.
It depends on your state.
Covered,
It depends on your state.
because I thought if it's covered the benefit, even though they're out of insurance, you still have to accept that fee.
That's right. Your state insurance carrier make that call. So like Delta says you have to follow their plan, and some states can say no, but usually you can't do that. And so the state can overrule the insurance company because they're run by the state insurance commission. If they don't rule, then they go to the street. So you get away from that by doing a package deal. So the 999 codes, they cannot dictate fees on uncovered services.
I went to school then.
Yeah, so that's I just do 6,999, and
I'm getting her taken too. Like, this is a good trip.
That's
That's the
And then
best,
she'll
that's
tell
the,
people.
that's the 999s are by report kind of thing, right? You're saying? So it's not a.
again, that depends on your contract with the
But
insurance
also
company,
not
but
advisor,
if your state doesn't protect you,
I
like,
signed up in April. I was gonna take an April
I was
course.
gonna do that.
right, because the insurance company,
You
I
can
mean,
keep in front of the class.
the insurance company says you have to bill out everything you do.
So now they're doing
it virtual
Network
now.
design contract, it says
I've
you have
watched
to
them
bill
all
out everything that you
but I've had multiple
So,
people,
do.
Monye
You have to bill out
said,
everything
Dr.
you do,
Monye said,
and if you
you should
make a package code,
you have
it's
to
not
take
in
a
the
course
code.
so under
The insurance company looks at that and they go, well,
what they want you to
you're
do.
just bundling, you're
I
taking
know.
all these codes that you should have been billing out, and you're just bundling those together. Then the insurance company makes you unbundle it, which you agree to do per your contract with the insurance. So if your state doesn't,
if you want to go look at the CT, go ahead. But essentially, when I was driving that in and it stopped, it's because I hit the cortical plate.
This is not.
There's no way, if they have that coverage, there's no way for you to get around that. You can't say, I'll give you a package for $8,000.
This is the patient.
Yeah. Yeah, we can see. Let's talk about it.
Do we want to come in and look at where she is?
Stay open there.
Yeah.
Dr. Brower, I'm gonna call you a case, okay? On this case, could you have socket preserved with ground tooth?
Yeah, what?
Socket preserved with ground tooth.
Sure.
Socket preserver.
Sure.
Round.
I just, yeah, with grounding up to you can use that for bone graft anyway.
Yeah.
But remember, it's a full wall defect. You saw, if you look at there, you see where the graft is. It looks like there's almost no bone missing at all.
Yeah.
And the period on that, he's been trying 45 years. I started 25
Yeah, look at
There's so many things I think that are useful. Okay.
You can close for a moment.
Okay, so
You can close.
Yeah,
is everybody back in here? Everybody
I
in?
know.
So
Stay
I
open.
want you to look at the bird. You can take a picture of that. Here, I'll put a black backdrop up in front of it. See how it's the mushroom? So that's what I create the undercut with.
I like that.
Yeah. So Dentatus is the one that sells this, and it's worth buying this. You don't need the whole kit, but buy that burr.
Okay.
And tell her I said you get a discount. I have no idea what it would be. She'll give you one if you tell her I said that.
She just gave me one.
Did she?
Yeah.
There you go. Yep. Yeah. They know they owe me, so they have to be nice to me whenever I ask them for a discount. So if you look there, you can see I undercut it all the way to the shank of the burr. So it's more than a millimeter undercut. So this is exactly how they put that burr in there for that tough link. Okay. So you ready?
Yep.
I'm not talking to the assistant. Here, go. Click, click, click. Sorry, she's ready to go.
And that's just PVS, right?
This is going to be a PBS, yeah. This
How
is-
much of the calcium sulfate will this pick up?
I'm not going to take it out after I put this in.
Okay.
So in 48 hours, it'll probably pick up some right here, but it's okay because it's
No.
excess.
Not a big deal.
The nice thing with calcium sulfates, you never need a membrane.
Yeah.
Did you guys get to see the graphic?
No.
Here, let me show you.
Coming back here.
So what you do is you just turn
Oh, I thought it was, this is a new, different kind of chip. Okay.
this. No, you just accidentally bumped it. Okay. So make sure that's full. And then I'm going to extend it to the back. I could have done an undercut in the back. That would have been better. Okay. But I know she's going to come back and I'm going to change this up. So there's our graft. Okay. Push it down. Bite together. Good. And just gonna wipe off my excess. Okay. And she likes the look of those. She already told me.
They look nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the support.
So you don't take that out?
You did, Judge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll,
I think you made it
48 hours.
easy on me.
you let me know when you're
Just leave
doing
it
this
in there.
again.
I will always let you know.
No, I don't. I use something that's similar.
Because I want to have the,
When I'm on the top, huh?
yeah, I just, gotta run my insurance for next year. Figure out what the cost would be.
It's on sale for $1 million.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, would they take my denture and then cut around it?
We'll usually make space in your denture for these, yeah. So we did that on the patient before. We just drill little holes in it where each of the implants is gonna be, and then we attach it that way. So the lady before had 4 here, and then she had us add 2 more in the back. Like we'll have 4,
Yeah.
so we'll add 2 more in the back, so it's more retentive. So if you want it tighter, we just add more as you go.
How about for the top?
The top, some people want to get rid of the roof of the mouth, and you got to have a minimum of 6 to do that.
Okay.
So you can do it, but you got to get at least 6.
So I can get 6 up there and maybe a couple more down here. Could you do it all at once?
Yeah, sure, we do that.
All right.
Yeah, most people do.
All right, that'll be the next deal. Flip the plane.
I'll be
Come on
here.
up. I need the guy to hold my hand. All right, we got it.
Yeah. So
Then we get a discount.
She likes that.
I get the discount.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Okay, so we'll wait till that hardens up, and then she should be good to go.
Okay. Well, you know,
Yeah.
maybe you could do that.
I did share
You have more treats to look at.
I did not share them at all. I told everybody, like, no, I don't know what this is. Leave it alone, leave it alone.
What procedure are we going to do today?
So she's getting mini implants.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I know. I'm sorry. Hang in there. Hang in there. Doing good here. Doing good.
Hi. I'm Dr. Downs. I'm from Eastern Iowa. Yeah. And I'm doing the videoing today, some of that. So.
Oh, that's right. Yep, he's one of the doctors with us. This is Tony.
Mm-hmm. Tony, nice to meet you, Tony. Where are you from? Sioux Falls. Okay, good. Yeah.
So, okay. So I'm anesthetizing 6 to 11 area so that doctor can place those mini implants.
Sure. It's going to secure that denture there.
Secure that denture. It's going to be good.
Is that a new denture?
That is her existing denture. Yep.
Okay, existing denture.
Still going here, dear.
Do you do any palatals with those injections?
Not typically.
Not typically.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I will if doctor asks me to, but it's not as a rule for him.
Mm-hmm. Is this your PRF machine over here? Your PRF centrifuge? Or you don't know which one it is? Okay. He has three different centrifuges in the office for different things. So just thought that I'd ask. Okay.
I'm not certain. Let me give you a rinse there. Okay.
Are you going to use PRF in this case or not?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
I'm just making her
Okay.
numb.
All right.
I'm sorry, Dr. Numb.
No problem.
Close there, Tony. There you go. Okay. All right.
You know, last time I had this done on the body.
Yeah.
Because of 4 years, I thought I'd be hurting for a long time. It didn't hurt at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after it, I was afraid when
Yeah.
wore it off.
Yeah.
It hurt, but it never did.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
Good.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, he'll be moving you into the other room in a little while, or
Yeah,
okay.
I would assume so.
Okay.
You're doing, you okay? I wasn't terribly interested in it. And so I was asking the women, so is this what you guys want to do? No, it was too hard to break into.
So you're removing the excess top link. Yeah.
Yeah, or this is PDS.
Oh,
I think it's different
PDS.
than he is
Oh,
next
I see.
door.
PDS. Okay, that's fine.
Yep, this is all, and then she's.
And how long will that be in the denture?
Until we're able to pick up the housings.
Sure.
So
Sure.
we usually see them in about 3 weeks, and then we decide from there.
Sure.
We're gonna go at 7, so we're gonna go kind of out to the zone, so there's no vegetarians or anybody?
No vegetarian.
Okay.
What'd you ask, sorry, Marcia?
Oh, you figure if you're gonna
Well,
go
I have
eat.
a friend that's native Indian in New York, and she's like, I don't even gonna be, you know. So.
All right. That looks pretty good. Let me rinse it off for you. No soaking the denture with the PVS, and then I'm just gonna lift it up.
Yeah, I would just follow it.
Keep it in all weekend.
So this is where.
For 48 hours, yep.
And then what do I do after that? I take it out and just rinse it with water.
Yeah, take the soft brush, the denture, toothpaste, all that kind of stuff, and then put it back in soon after.
So what I would do is I would drill, basically I would drill right here.
So there's holes in there, so it should line up, and I'll give you a,
If I buried it, I'd do it 10, if I didn't bury it.
I might need to practice in the mirror for a little
Let's say
bit.
I have this and it was healed.
Find the middle teeth and line them up, and then the holes should line up.
Brush like this, I might do a 13.
Yeah.
If you want, so if you click the IMP, that's the implant planning module.
Yeah.
You can go in and add planning, new.
Hold
You can
this,
pick an
and I'll
implant
try to
size and
do
put
it
it
and
in and
watch
see what it would actually look like.
Okay, open.
Yeah.
So that's how he said he would do his osteotomy, and then he put a 13 there. So he said it's more dangerous because the cortical bone is so strong that the nerve is not going to do right away.
Remember using that wrap? That wrap accelerator?
So like if this starts to.
Rapid accelerator phenomenon,
Push.
you injure the body.
Yeah,
So all the
pressure,
growth factors, all the
pressure,
new
yeah.
factors are gonna come in and make it rapid.
Yeah, but you know, you've got, I mean, you've got cortical bone around the nerve. When you've got cortical bone here, that's gonna guide where your implant goes. I mean, unless you're just angling it that way, it's gonna follow the cortical bone. It's gonna end up where you want it every time.
Cases we get, you know, and it's
Keeping the
it's
denture
like,
helps that way. What?
In the posterior mandible there, there's already bone loss around that one, bone loss around that one, bone loss around that one, you know, so, and he's already lost that implant there, that short one I told you about, he already lost that one. So,
Oh, yeah, he lost it.
yep, and he should not have left that tooth.
Mine, look at that.
Is that just an impact? That's just an
Now,
impact.
the issue, it is, yeah, it is,
You
but
take
it's,
that out?
it's got a big radiolucency around the crest. So you see it?
Yep.
It's got a huge, you know, so it's probably a cyst. So you got to take it out. You can't leave an act like that's where you asked about the radiology. Well, there you can clearly see it's got a radiolucency, and you're doing surgery on this patient. So you know you're not doing it because they asked you not to do surgery on them. So you can't make them. But if once you do surgery, then you're kind of like, if you're leaving active pathology that you could remove at the time of surgery, you should.
Okay, and what about if it's impacted but no cyst?
That's fine.
Yeah.
In
that's what I
fact,
would say. I'd rather do
Eugene Kim has some really cool cases where he's drilling right through the impacted tooth and placing the implant through it, and they're out a year, 2 years, and he's publishing them.
No kidding.
Yeah, so there are a bunch of uppers. Yeah, he's a prosthodontist that I teach with for the Pacific Implant Academy. He's great. He's really great.
Because I always try to avoid those if they're there.
And he drills right through it.
Have you ever done it?
I haven't done that. I mean, I bumped him, but I've never drilled all. He literally drills all the way through, and the implant comes out the other side. He's got the CTs and he's got the follow up.
what about the devitalizing of the pulp in that tooth?
Well, these are impacted teeth that are probably not ever coming in, and they'll probably be stabilized because it never came in.
Yeah, they can't decay. But you would, yeah.
No, what he's saying is, why doesn't the tooth die in absence?
Yeah, why doesn't
It'll devitalize in the anterior, in the coronal part of the canal will devitalize.
Well,
It'll devitalize, but it won't become infected.
I'm with him.
Yeah,
So
I
I think
understand.
that's the difference. I think you have to have a bacterial challenge to actually cause the abscess.
Sure.
So I think he, yeah.
It's kind of like a socket shoe.
Well, the socket shield doesn't have any pulp tissue though. So Rick's right, but I think he's right why it doesn't become infected.
But you think that's why Eugene thought of that? Like, he's like, oh,
Well,
kind
he's
of
smarter than me
stabilize
because
it.
I didn't, I was like, I'll just take it out. I just take it out and graft it. But I'm like, I totally see why you could try it. I just feel like for me, it's a non-invasive, pretty quick, easy procedure to take it out. I know, was
Yeah,
it
but
you
it's
that said
less
you took out a
invasive
tooth
to
that the
leave it
oral
in.
surgeon said not to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like, I don't know why, maybe you don't think you can make money at it or something, but you know, I'm like, I don't have any problem taking out teeth. So this one in particular just wouldn't take very long. There's one published in there on the inside left where there's a bunch of premolars that are impacted. I think the kid had like 2 extra on each side, and I went in and took them out right there through the lingual. It was not very hard to do.
Here's one issue is how close is the apex to the egg? That if you go to remove this, would that not cause?
That's about where the mental exits, so it exits buckle, and I guarantee that's lingual, just like the ones I published. Every case I've ever seen of those say lingual.
A coronectomy is also a valid procedure to do on that.
Yep, I agree with that too. Yep. But doing nothing when you can see the pathology, I can't justify that.
I've seen oral surgeons leave in roots.
I've done a half dozen coronectomies.
Yeah.
I have a patient that
Yep.
has an upper denture that he only uses for smiling. And yeah, exactly. And then they've just removed 6 anterior teeth. So he has 21, 27, and 28 in place. And they've given him a partial and he hates it because he hasn't had posterior teeth in 35 years.
So look at all that down.
Okay, so he's going to do the anterior maxilla.
How are you today?
Good, how about you?
We're doing good.
Good.
Appreciate you coming in. We're looking at you.
Yeah, I could hear it. I could hear it. I could watch it. Yeah.
You know, we all kind of learned we didn't have any of this technology, so we would just go in there and kind of find out, like the old days in surgery.
Oh, yeah.
They would just open you up and kind of, see what was going on. But now they just, we're gonna do this. They just make a little hole. They go in there with a robot, right?
I know.
It is, it really is. My sister's operating room nurse at the VA, and she's like 50, my younger sister. And so she was telling me the other day that, and she's been doing it a while, and she's got this young surgeon who does everything with a robot, and it makes her nervous because she doesn't really know if he knows what to do. Like if the robot goes down, she says, "I know he knows how to fix the robot, but does he really know how to go in there and like?" I said, "Oh, it's got to know." She goes, "I don't know. It makes me nervous for you," because she's used to all the older surgeons to come in.
Yeah.
I said,
You guys want to come up front real quick? We'll do this while we're waiting.
You had said earlier about
We're gonna do a class photo.
surgical guides,
Mhm.
how they can be planned perfectly, but they don't always come out perfectly clinically.
All right.
That's been my experience as well.
Mhm.
And do you think his guys are better? Or
Especially for minis, absolutely. For minis, it's better than anything you can find. You can still be off. You'll have to still.
Oh, we're gonna stand basically in that corner.
You can still be off. Yeah. So we're gonna get our picture taken. I guess.
Probably younger than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, younger than that. We're not past diapers for sure. I could walk and ride a bike. That's probably, as soon as I could walk and ride a bike, I think she knew me. And I spent quite a bit of time at her house. So she got me into Garfield the cat books. I love those. Aren't they the awesomest? Yeah. So where's Bruce and Jen? So they have the Garfield cat.
I know.
Did they show you the cat?
Oh, yeah?
No, no.
I'll show you a picture.
Jen got a picture.
A picture of Oliver.
Oliver.
Do I have a picture?
I swear to God, I never saw anything like this. This cat is it's big, it's fat, it's like 35 pounds. I mean, it's amazing. I've never seen a cat that looks like Garfield except this one. Never before.
Yeah, I mean, he's bigger.
Show him like that top one where he's like stealing the dog's food. I mean, it's truly the Garfield cat. Well, you know how the dogs have that little like thing where they walk up and lean over and drink out of it? He sits on his back feet and leans over and drinks out of it. It's crazy. It's a big cat.
He's over 20 pounds.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It is the only cat I've ever
I
seen.
have a retriever,
I
golden
need a
retriever, it's the
15.
same color, they kind of look like twins.
So you're gonna do a flap on this, Doctor?
So I'm going to show you like how to keep it really, really minimal. I'm going to go
You got a crowd watching.
Yeah, I got to look at them.
Doesn't matter, we all got masks on, you can't tell.
Yeah, I know. That was very good now. Ken would smile, so I did. But no one could see that.
Yeah.
I was very smile.
So, Dr. Jones, are you still videoing?
I am, but
Can
I'm.
you show like the size of the bone on this case?
I did earlier, but I'll show it again. Not much bone there.
It's 6.5 millimeters long.
Okay. There it is. So what are you gonna put in, Doctor?
Implants. Right, the implants that I brought. They should be in the room.
Did somebody slap him or what?
Oh, I didn't see any.
Well, we got to keep him.
They should be here.
He should be in good shape.
I guess we use 10 millimeters and then, you know, and then the nasal.
I've used 6 millimeter implants, but they've never been narrower than 3.7.
Never know.
Dr. Downs, this will juice you faster for a second.
Yeah.
That particular charger.
Thank you.
It'll work a little better than your battery pack.
Well, my battery pack is going down.
You said somebody makes a 3.7 by 6.
Yeah. Implant direct. You have to get the legacy too.
You've never seen that.
I do.
I've used them a lot.
Says,
I'll make a note of that. What's that?
Legacy 2.
What about them?
They make a 6 millimeter long implant by 3.7.
You can get a lot of 6 millimeter on implants. They're out there.
Yeah, most of them are wider than that though. They're 4.2.
That's true. Now, intralock, all of those are 2 millimeters shorter than they say. So if you get a 10, it's actually an 8.
Right. You're gonna use those here?
No.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to put them in the center.
Can you put your head like in the middle of, kind of move up maybe? Put your head right in the middle.
Yeah, they want to make the internet famous.
comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Get some 2 hits on this one.
It's really popular in Europe for a long time because it's got a primarily used for transmission. But you can unscrew the drill, it's kind of cold rubber on there.
If you guys look, I went and got a finer drill because I know I really don't want anything.
What is it?
Let's see, just took out the box. It should be
1.2.
This is the traditional, so it's a 1.2 Stern Gold 1.2 drill.
You have to charge it with this black cord.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna tip the chair just a little bit.
Sorry, designing the shot.
Oh, no, that's what they were for.
Should still be on camera. Oh. If it goes off camera, let me know.
You're off camera.
10.
You want to back in? You're off camera. We see a chip.
You're gonna video that?
That's fine. I'm doing it. I'm all right. You're not in my way yet.
Okay.
Hold it for me.
Now you're off.
Okay, scoot down on the chair a little bit. That's
See, it's
micro
barely just
adjustment. Right there, micro adjustment. Okay. So I'm just gonna feel. Tip your head back a little bit. Okay, so you guys can all see the epulus. Right here. Okay, and then the tissue is very loose. So if you see, so if you feel in there, you cannot even feel the ridge because the tissue is about 5 millimeters thick. Okay. So we know we want to keep everything pretty much lingual. So we know we're not going to go very far. So
You're right. You just skip the papillae.
what's it called?
The nasal palatine papilla.
Now,
You're going around it.
if you feel anything, let me know. Just raise a hand. Are you feeling it on the backside?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it, band.
Yeah, it's okay. You want to grab me a scepter? Then just rub your hand over there.
Want some to the side?
Yeah, just hand me the cup. I'll just grab it. Thank you. Okay. She brought me chocolate, so she gets extra anesthetic.
Well, the implants are free. She just had to pay for the.
Was that those cherry chocolates I saw in there?
No, you didn't see anything. I don't know where they went. No, I think they were pomegranates.
Oh, pomegranate. Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, she likes to keep me healthy. They have extra vitamins.
Okay. I saw those in there and I was kind of like in envy of them.
Yep, you should be. They're quite good.
Okay.
But they're all gone.
Okay.
So let's see here. Okay, everybody can see okay? Mark, you're tall enough. You might want to stand there.
Go ahead.
You can see it. So the
Yeah,
trick with
that's
really
right.
flabby ridges is to make sure, if you want to put your hand on the very top of that mark and push on the 15, the back of the blade, just push. See how that's against bone?
Yeah.
So basically I'm hitting this lingual plate right there. So when I'm going in, you have to hit that. Otherwise you'll start reflecting and you'll get split thickness.
Dr. Barrow, your camera's off and it's pointed at your head.
Okay. I think that we just moved her a little bit. Well, I think for visibility, I'm going to extend the buckle. So I want to keep it as small as I can, but there are times when you just want to see. And when you're teaching a class, that's one of those times. So you guys won't gain any knowledge if I just put them through. Okay. So I want to remove all this loose periosteum. Get a true look at the actual bone volume. Okay, everybody can see it. They see okay?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to start perpendicular to the rib. Pushing close so I can see, keep there. Okay, you see how it just dropped in? I'm going to keep it not going deeper. I'm going to stand it up. Okay? And I can literally push it. You saw I just pushed that? I did not drill. I just pushed. The bone is that soft. So I'm going to drill until I get through the cortical. I'm going to see it drop. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going in deeper. I'm going to stand it up. Coming into the lingual. Yeah, you have to come into the lingual. You can't do it from the buckle. Don't let this move.
We cannot see because of the phone that's in front of the camera.
Okay, we got this farther away.
You. Come down lower, I think, and it'll be better. Like to unzoom it and pull back. Sorry.
Section. So you see how I just, yeah, pull it back.
Oh, sorry.
Pull it back and zoom in digitally. Okay. So I'm gonna start. These are tricky, so as it goes in, I'm gonna stand it up. Hold it right there. And I did not put it all the way in. I want to have a chance to make an adjustment if I need it. No, it's like paper mache. I thought you would put those in the stickers.
You could. You really could.
Okay, so I have some smooth part of the collar in there. Okay, and see the tissue? There's not going to be hardly any of it sticking up. Okay. So, turn towards me some. Okay. We're going to move. You got to tell me if you can't see, okay? Okay. Give us a minute.
There we go, that's good. As soon as it focuses back in.
So this should not be your first mini implant case, and it should not be your 10th. Okay. So the trick is actually finding the bone when we start. Bone's better on this side. Hold this right here. You looking at it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Tell me you're doing okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, can you guys see okay? Okay. Turn towards me a little bit. Okay, good. Hold this back with your section. Back out. Good job on holding up. Okay, I think you get a lot of cases like this, don't you?
I see a lot of patients like this.
Oh, but you don't do them? I thought you were.
I do the mandibular, like you said, but I haven't done one of this atrophy in the maxilla.
Okay, well, you
Without just grafting and then put them on posterior.
So are you bumping up the sinus or the nasal floor?
Yeah, because you saw I did not drill in.
Right.
So no, don't touch that. No, back out.
Now the protocol with minis in the maxilla, whether it's 4 or 6, is to leave the palate on. Is that right?
6 you remove the palate.
6 you can remove. Okay.
One of the things you can't tell is I'm pushing very hard so it doesn't cross thread, and so that when it hits that cortical plate, it actually will penetrate it without stopping. Now this, you see how the tissue is thicker on this side? Mm-hmm. So I left that just slightly more shallow. Okay, so let's get CT. Good job, everybody.
Oh,
Not done yet. We're gonna find out how badly I messed this up. You know?
I doubt
And then
it.
have her find out some laws for me, will you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
So everybody be proud, give them straight.
Yeah, all over.
Yeah.
We're gonna go get a CT scan.
Okay, so this is the Broward sinus lift. There are 6 classifications of sinus lifts. Mine would be the 6th. So the sinus lift should be prepared based on the width of the sinus. The narrower the sinus, the more likely you should do a lateral window versus a crestal. The wider it is, the more likely you should do a crestal. Okay. When you look at the research on using PRF and things, 12 millimeters is the maximum width that you can put PRF in and actually not have to add additional bone to get a lift to work. Okay. But in this, which is pretty common, let's say you have 2, change it to 2 to 4 millimeters. Okay. So the traditional lift, you basically cut down, to the floor, and then you would just take an osteotome and you start banging it and knock it up. Okay. So the Broward modified version of that is I take a trephine drill and I drill basically 2 millimeters, 1 to 2 millimeters from the floor, and this plug of bone is still there. Then I take a cupped osteotome, and this is 3.5, and my osteotome is 3.5. So the cup then sits right on here, like an angled one like this, and I just sit and go, and it pops that last millimeter of the sinus flora, which feels exactly the same, except for I kept all this autogenous bone. So that's a big deal. So I never actually will touch the membrane because I left autogenous bone in front of it. So I use this and I tap it up, and what happens is it puts an autogenous square plug right there, and it lifts all of the bone at the same time. So I put that in, then I pack this site with particulate bone, and then I take my implant, always tapered and always at least to 5 because I used a 3.5. So that means the 3.5, the implant's gonna be like that, so it's gonna drop into the hole. There's no additional drilling at all, and I'm gonna drive that implant in all the way to depth. And as it goes in, this particulate is gonna further raise this up. And when it comes in, because this is pushing back down, it spills over like this. And so my implant, when it's all done, is gonna look like this. You cannot perforate the sinus this way. So when you have really thin, delicate sinuses, you can do this. You can always put in a piece of PRF if you feel like it. And then the particulate.
If you were going to put it in the PRF, where would you put the PRF?
You put that in another particulate because you want it up against the membrane if you think you could tear it. Okay. So then the implant is right there, the particulate's there, and you end up having a nice little domed egg shape right over the top of your implant there. So this technique is impossible to finish because you never touch the membrane. You have autogenous bone above it, so you get all your growth factors. You're putting PRF or particulate in there, and it's going to spread it evenly over the base of your implant. It can't fall in because it's tapered. So if your sinus is softer than you think, then you just hand drive it in. Yes.
Can you go over the width and height requirements again for that technique?
Sure. You should have at least 8 millimeters of width for a 5 millimeter implant because you need 3 millimeters, like 1.5 millimeters on the buckle and the lingual to do a crustal. So if you're narrower than that, most of the narrow sinuses kind of look like this, versus the one I showed you earlier at the beginning of the day was like that. So this is 12 and this would be like 6. So narrow and wide. So this is lateral window and this is crestal window. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Good. And
Any
tomorrow,
questions on that one?
tomorrow we're gonna do laterals.
Yes.
I think bilaterals.
Bilaterals.
Could you, with different instrumentation, use, like, you know, I have traveled in, they do like 4
Yeah. It just needs to be tapered and it needs to be at least a millimeter bigger than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you want to crush that bone and osteodensify it by placing the implant. Okay. I need to see my CT. You like that placement? That work? Okay. See that? So I'm gonna move this. So you see how all the bones on the buckle? And it's maybe a millimeter into the nose. Maybe 2 on one side. See how there's buckle plate completely covering it? And it's better.
So as long as you go 2 or less, it'll stay under the membrane and it won't perforate the membrane.
Yeah, well, it'd be hard to perforate anyway. Now this one, you see I went through. So this is a nasal implant and I have seen bone actually grow over this, okay? And so there's air and then it goes into the side of the nose. So trying to think of the company that sells the nasal implant. Now, I could take it out and graft it, but you see how I stayed anterior? And the sinus was still that far forward, it like leached up there on me. So I'm not concerned about that at all.
So we're in the sinus?
We're through the sinus and into the edge of the nose. So
because you're
Norris Medical sells a nasal implant that's meant to engage the lateral wall exactly like I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, because it's engaged there, and then you got
Bicortical stabilization. Yep. Yep.
So is there exposed titanium in the maxillary sinus?
Yes. Yep. But remember, you saw I didn't drill deep, so that means that the membrane got lifted when I went through, and there's bone that will grow up to 4 millimeters over that, and I'm not 4 millimeters into there, so I expect bone to actually grow up over that over time.
So the titanium is not actually in the sinus, it's under the membrane.
But that the membrane's in the sinus.
Okay, but you don't have it exposed to whatever stuff.
Let's say even if it was, I would not be concerned. I would not, because if you've ever done a Lafort, you basically scrape off all the respiratory mucosa, which is the Schneiderian membrane. You cut the whole thing off. You're moving it in your hand, and it just magically heals. I am not concerned. So let's say if it failed, what would I do? I just graft it and put it back in.
You could have put some,
they want to see me graft. So what I'm going to do is just remove it, put in bone graft, put it right back in. Okay. And the graft should stay right above it. Okay.
What kind of graft are you going to use, doctor?
I have no bone because it's good for a very small hole like this. Yep. Can you get me the composite gun?
Yeah.
Could you bring it to me? Because I don't see it. It's for this right here. It's a silicate glass. I need the composite gun now, please.
Okay.
I asked Hannah for it. I still don't have it. I'll do it myself.
It's okay.
Yep, that's fine. Okay, put the glasses on so I can start.
All right.
Sorry.
Thanks for taking the extra time to show us.
No, oh yeah, that's okay.
I've never seen an overload used, so.
No. Well, it's very, very expensive, but it's really nice and convenient. So I don't have to make a different hole, which is what I really want to do. Okay. And that's why I didn't suture. I did the CT and suture out. Okay, turn this way.
I'm gonna go
We're gonna
around.
make sure that's visible up there. So you can see
I'm gonna go
the
around, yeah.
implants right now. So it's like there's so little bone that it's not even like hard to come in and out.
You want to explain your driver there, doctor?
I tell you what, Dr. Downs, I'm gonna get a different implant. Why don't you explain it to them? I'll be right back.
Okay, so if you notice this driver here, he has a little O-ring on it. See the O-ring on that driver? You can get these from Dr. Brower, and they will lock your implant in, so when you hold on to it, it isn't falling out of your wrench. It's really a nice system because you don't lose your implants. Okay.
And it's reusable and replaceable easily for the interlock system, which has a nice O-ring. When you lose the O-ring, you can't replace it. Okay, so right here's my middle bone. Everybody see the hole? Now I don't mind adding a little bit, just don't suction that anymore, okay? And then I've got a 2.4. So I got the same length, and then I just went up in diameter a little bit so I get a little bit more engagement. Because normally with these maxillary ones, you don't want to take them out because you compress the bone to start with.
Are all those maxillary implants 2.4s?
These are 2.1. You
And that-
saw how little bone there was, right?
So
So that's a 2.4. And you don't want to take them in and out because you really want to compress the bone once the bone is so soft that if you take it in and out once, your bone is destroyed and you don't get a second chance. So, all right. So since at least 4 hours of this course are on implant failures, we want to talk about what causes those failures and how not to have them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're taking it in and out would cause a failure. Okay. Stop.
That's because of the bone
Hold the
fall
trigger.
already there?
Yes. Yep. A lot of things like this, you get one chance. If you don't get it, then like Dr. Breland said, you just graft and come back. Take your finger and retract this.
Would you graft the same way, doctor? And come back
No,
later?
I'd probably do an onlay graft and add some to the buckle.
Mm-hmm.
When you're putting your implants in, can you feel the perforation of the cortical bone?
You can feel it actually. It's very, very slight in this case because the cortical bone at the base of the sinus is so small. You can feel it, but it's very slight. Depending upon your implant motor, a really good motor, you should be able to feel it.
What is the suture you're using?
Wouldn't you like to know? Yeah, it's very expensive. It's a polydioxanone. It's a monofilament. Not that Amanda knows. It's the very best that you can get. It takes 62 days on average to dissolve, and it wicks away bacteria like a Teflon, but you don't have to remove it because it does dissolve on its own. So it's got all the properties you want. It wicks away bacteria. It's a monofilament, So it doesn't shred, it doesn't tear, nothing at all when you put it in. And you don't have to have them back because it resorbs. So it'll turn from violet to clear over time. You do 3, 2, 2. You can actually, with these, they're a little slipperier, and you can actually go like 4s and 5s if you want. I find that if I go with 3 or less, sometimes they'll untie themselves a little bit. They got a little bit of memory to them, you know, but in general terms, a couple of interrupted works pretty well for me. This one I'll do a little different just so you can see, because we haven't done much suturing today. Hold this right here, Amanda. Hold it over here so I can see that side too. So the buckle is more loose, so I'm going right between them. So you see the little loop? I'm going to loop it right around the implant. Now when I do this, it does pull it down a little bit against the implant. So I'm always a little bit more careful with it because I don't want her to overload it. Hannah, did you create that space in the denture yet?
Yeah. I did.
Okay.
I tried on
Do you have the PVS?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going right back to the loop again.
Yeah. Sometimes we put wax in. Yep. And then see what that made it there, but the anterior, we'll put it in that a lot.
So will you do the PVS liner on this too, though?
Yep. You know where things like the 3-2-2 come from, Dr. Breland? Or does that come from people like me? Because I tried it and it came out, or I tried it and it didn't come out. So you just keep trying. You know, there's another doctor that says if you don't tie a sailor's knot, and they always come untied. So what I want is to be able to feel them with my finger. You guys were gloved up, you could feel it, but I want them covered. Okay. And I'm going to have you leave it in for the first 48 hours, okay?
Yep.
So if you guys see, I'm relining the whole thing.
Why do you not use the light body?
Because it's too runny.
Too runny.
Stick your tongue out. And bite together. No bite. Take it. Yeah. There you go. I'm just making sure I get that back in the right spot. Okay. My finger swipe. And you guys can take the CT while it's setting up. Okay. So we're done.
And just keep biting.
A suture from 80 Surgical, Pearson Dental, and this is the same price as Gut or cheaper from them. Otherwise, it's about $200 a box. So you want to buy it from them only. Okay. And it is fantastic. So it resorbs on its own in about 2 months. It wicks away bacteria when they come in. Even if they have terrible oral hygiene, there will not be a speck of plaque or anything on this suture. So it's fantastic, and you don't have to take it out. If it had a negative effect, it would be what we talked about, Dr. Breland, where the sutures can untie themselves if you don't pull them tight. So having an additional spin around the, hemostat's a good idea. So maybe 3, 4, 3, or full 2, whatever you want, but more is better with this because they will untie a little bit. But yeah, you saw that patient this morning that came in with the sinus lift on number 2. You saw at that time, you could not even tell where the sutures had been, and she just removed them. So that's how clean it looks all the time. So you guys enjoyed that case?
Yeah.
Like you should do fillet tissue.
Well, the fillets we do is split thickness. So that was a full thickness instead of split thickness. So when we do a pregingival graft, that's when we do split thickness. So yeah, I've taught a lot of perio courses and they're fun to do, but I really didn't. This is more of a dental implant meeting. So
using the Nova one, I've seen that one pretty easy. When you
it's
need it,
very, very easy. It's just expensive. It works fantastic. In fact, the research shows that it's better than PRF. It is.
Really?
It is. Yep. And I got a whole lecture on that too.
Is there an expiry on it?
No.
Yeah, because
No, it's an artificial, so you also don't have to put it in your biology book. It's really nice about that too.
Nice to know.
Mm-hmm.
You use a lot on sinuses.
What's that?
You use a lot on sinuses.
No, it's really expensive. The sinus is super osteogenic, so I just don't eat it. Yeah. So you can eat. There's lots of research that says that blood is enough to grow, and it is up to a certain height. So
that's why you develop the other technique too. It's a little cheaper, a little safer.
I'm all about frugality. I'm not getting paid for it. I have a hard time doing it. So. But there's nothing better than the patient's own bone. Yeah. It's the gold standard. So, yeah, if I can put that into the sinus lift, even a little bit of it, that bone morphogenic protein is great. They discovered bone morphogenic protein when I was in school and we were trying to use it for the first time, and it was a liquid syringe that you could inject. And J.Q. Swift was my instructor. He's the head of all the oral surgeons in the country. I think he still might be. He was it for like 20 years. Really good guy. So we did a ton of research, and they were injecting it. I don't even know what where they were trying to grow it, but it kept migrating to people's cheeks. They're getting these like bony tumors in their cheeks. So you can like squeeze it and there'll be hunks of bone. And so they found out you cannot inject bone morphogenic protein. So they were trying to encapsulate it. They were trying to basically create a socket graft that you could put it in, but they couldn't find a carrier that would stay there long enough for it to slow release. Because as soon as it released, it's a liquid. It would go. So BMP2 is what's traditionally used. Rick Myron says he's got the patent on like BMP9, but it's not FDA approved, but it's supposed to be 1,000 times more powerful, which even if it is, you just use less of it. It's still the same cost. It doesn't really save you anything because this stuff's super. I don't know if you ever used any bone morphogenic protein. It's very expensive, like $1,000 a dose.
How much is the Nova bone? You said
they sell it in 0.25 and 0.5 cartridges. It's probably, I bet you used $80 to $100 of it right there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not cheap.
Have you tried stem cells?
Yeah.
How do they work?
Oh, they're fine. Like the chorion membrane from Synopsis Medical, that's basically some stem cells. Frugality wise, I would do basically go into the tuberosity and take that out.
So yeah, because they make it in injectable form. I've found. I visited a factory in California that makes it.
So I'll tell you a new product that I have coming right now. So you guys know you're supposed to be on a conventional implant 4 millimeters below the tissue height, right, for the top of your implant. So there's a porcine dermis, which would be keratinized tissue, and we're gonna basically make punches out of it and stackable graft that into the existing tissue. So we're gonna do a split thickness, add the porcine graft over the top, and actually build the height of the tissue up, but it's gonna be fully keratinized height. So I'm very excited to do that. So basically I'm gonna do a tissue punch to place my implant, and then I'm gonna fill that tissue punch with the porcine keratinized tissue. So expected here any day. I was hoping it would get here before you guys got here, but it did not arrive.
As an alternative to using Nova bone in that situation, you just do what we always do for like the sinus graft, where you just put the bone, the PRF.
You can. The reason I used it was so you guys could see it, and because it's got a nice dispenser.
Okay. Yeah.